Hello, friends, and welcome to episode number 1 of the Breaking the Veil podcast. My name is Jay Chirino, and I'm here with my lovely wife, Elizabeth, who refused to take my last name. Who knows for what reason?
Seriously? That's what you're gonna say in the first episode?
It's your time to speak up, woman.
Because it's pretty obvious I'm not your cow. I'm not your property.
Whoa, hey!
Yeah, it's... Plus, you have a really ugly last name. No offense to everybody that has the same last name, but... What
You just
goes
offended
with that?
about 15 people. How dare you?
And a singer.
I'm a singer that retired like 20 years ago.
The one person that is like famous. I think you're off to a really bad start here. If it's with the last.
Oh, God. Yeah, definitely getting famous is not the purpose of this podcast.
Or the last name.
Yeah.
Oh,
Welcome, friends. We have a really cool show for you today, we hope. This is an experiment in conversation, in poetry, in art, in pretty much everything. So we'll see how it goes. So I'm going to start with a poem that I wrote. By the way, I'm on 2 grams of psilocybin and everything is very bright. And that's, of course, the that's the purpose of the show, right? You just get a little high on mushrooms to be able to activate those brain chemicals that may not be activated on a normal basis and see what comes out, especially with poetry and the arts and, you know, things that we love. And I do have a couple of articles, by the way, that talk about that.
okay. Nice.
So yeah, but this poem that I wrote a couple of days ago, a lot of people seem to connect with it, and it was very short. And honestly, I didn't think it was like one of my best.
Which one is it?
Professional Victim.
Oh, okay.
And it goes like this, and I'll explain a little more on why I say that. The poem says, "Take me away from this hell that I have proudly created for myself. I chase the demons away only to invite them again. Why do I feel worthless if I am not the victim?" That's it. And, when I wrote that poem, it was a reflection on how I was feeling and why I was feeling the things I was feeling. And it seemed like sometimes we get addicted to feeling like
You're the victim.
we're low, right? Like we're waiting for somebody to rescue us, even if it's just ourselves. When we begin to rise and we begin to feel like we are getting on top of our own minds, that scares us, because now you're the manager, now you're the hero that's coming. Does that make any sense? When you're the victim, you're always waiting for somebody to rescue you, right? So that responsibility of being okay is not with you, it's with the medicine, it's with the doctor, it's with the therapist, right? You're just there like, tell me what to do. Like, there's a lot of people, and maybe you're like this at work, that when you're in a place, when you're in a situation, you need somebody to tell you, okay, where do I do? Like, where do I
What's
go
the
from
next
this?
step?
And I think that being a victim is kind of like that. And it's subconscious, and you're not even aware that you're doing it. And then when you become introspective and you look at your reasoning and the reason why you're doing it, you realize, oh crap, there's really not an issue. I'm making and creating the issue so I can blame the issue on something that takes the responsibility away from what I need to do. No, I can't do this because X, Y, and Z, because I'm a victim.
Yeah, but also could be the process of how we like move on and like get better as humans. Like you have to start like bad always, like to find some room for improvement. So maybe when you feel like that, like you make yourself the victim and you create this whole situation. Could be for you too.
Our cat's going crazy. All right.
I knew that would happen. I forgot what I was saying.
You got to start from the bottom. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Mhm.
I get it. My problem is when you have this feeling of you need rescuing. And I think a lot of people have that victim mentality nowadays. Um, on social media especially. Like I know you're not on Facebook,
Oh no.
but it's surprising the kind of information and personal data that people put in there, and it's usually negative. Like, oh, uh, my kid's a drug addict, and I feel really bad, and just really negative stuff. And it feels like they do it so often. Some of these accounts, like they do it so often that you're like, it has to be them needing somebody to tell them, oh, it's gonna be okay, we'll pray for you, it's gonna be okay. Like that's their only outlet, is to like give away all that negative information, as if somebody will be able to tell them it's gonna be okay, because they don't believe that it's gonna be okay.
Just finding some external
And again, i'm
reassurance.
not i'm not putting anything negative out there about them. I wrote the poem about me and my own awareness of wanting to be a victim. Like I remember when I was little and my dad would punish me, I would hide under the bed and pretend to be really sad. And
Oh my
my
god.
dad would get mad at me and like be like, all right, the punishment is over. So I learned that if I was, and I think a lot of people have that,
Mhm.
that if you learn to be a victim, people will feel sorry for you and take that responsibility. At the end of the day, it's about taking the responsibility away of whatever needs to be done. And what I mean by that is, why can you be successful? There has to be an excuse for that, right? There has to be a
Mhm.
reason why, or at least a reason that you have to say, why am I not successful? Well, because X, Y, and Z, right? Oh, I'm not there yet. Like maybe women don't have those type of conversations, but guys usually, the way that we talk, if we're talking about something, for example, cars, right? Like when people talk to me about my car, it goes something like this: oh, that's a really nice car. I used to have one like that, but I sold it because X, Y, and Z.
Mhm.
Or, oh, I'm gonna get one of those one day, but I'm not there yet because X, Y, and Z. So it always goes back to them kind of owning something equal or better value, and the reason why they don't have it yet. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
So there always has to be a reason why they're not succeeding at that point. It can never be, oh, I'm going to get a car like that, period. Right? It always seems that they excuse themselves with whatever. And I don't even have such that nice of a car, but I like vehicles and I make my car look nice. So people think it's more expensive than what it really is. But the whole thing is that there always has to be a reason why at this very present moment they're not there yet, right? And that's the victim mentality, in my opinion. Oh, I'm not successful yet because I didn't have a father when I was growing up, or I grew up in a cult, or I was abused, or whatever it may be. And they might be legitimate reasons, because we all have them, right? What I'm trying to get at is the thinking itself of, why am I the way that I am, and why do I feel like other people are better than me, or that I cannot achieve certain things? Because sometimes when the depression hit, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later on, you feel like you can't achieve anything. Like getting out of bed, it's a difficult thing, you know. So that takes us into our next poem. And I don't know how I'm going to read this one because it's supposed to be. This poem is supposed to take a look at life, and it's almost like if you're looking at life in the face and going, "You're not going to beat me." You know, because sometimes those days that it just seems like it's orchestrated, right? That everything that's coming your way in one day, you're like, this has to be like a conscious attack on my person, because otherwise it just wouldn't be happening. And the poem is, it sounds like it's very assertive and very like self strengthening, but it's not. It comes from a place of fear. It comes from a place of going, this is what I need to do, not this is what I feel. Does that make sense?
Yep. Well, read it.
And it's called Life.
Okay.
You are a stubborn bitch, a psychopathic clown that chortles at one's demise, a cheap prostitute that refuses to give what was paid for, a thug that breaks ribs for a few pennies. But I fight like hell, and every time you leave me bloody, broken, and hopeless, I rise again. You see, my spirit may be broken, but my legs function well. Adrenaline lets mothers lift cars of their babies, but anger allows men to stand up to life. Thoughts?
When you feel depressed, when you're on that mode, is there always a lot of anger towards yourself, or is it towards
Not
external
always, but yeah, you
things?
blame yourself a lot. Like, why can I get out of this? Why can I? You again, you become that victim that we were just talking about. Um, and one of the other things that become very, very apparent is that everybody else can do what you can't. So, not only do you see yourself as the weakest person in the world, you see other people as having a supernatural strength that you like on those days that you can't go to work or that you can't get out of bed, you're like, oh my god, like, and then people tell you, right, like when you're depressed to the point where you can't get out of bed, there's always going to be a person telling you, I'm depressed too. I feel depressed and I'm sad and sometimes I don't want to live anymore, but guess what, I get out of bed and I go to work and I do what I have to. And you believe it, you're like, yeah, I
Mm.
see you, you're right, you're 100% right, I'm weak. And then you start blaming yourself even more, and it becomes a vicious circle because then it becomes more depressive, and you start believing and you start accepting the fact that you're not going to get out of that. So when you go into a deep depression, you don't see the end, right? It's not like an illness, like a flu that you go, oh, it's going to get better. Like the darkness just gets darker. And then when it goes away, at least for me, it doesn't go away completely. Like it doesn't. It's like, oh, I'm not depressed anymore. That just doesn't
It's not
happen.
a light switch. It's
Depression, the best way that I can explain it, it takes away the joy out of things. So there's a lot of times where, are you excited for X, Y, and Z? And I know I should be excited because some of the things I've planned, and but the excitement is not there. And it's not that I don't want to feel excited. It's just that my physical chemistry is it's just blank. And I feel like I should feel excited. And it's funny because once you have been depressed, like I have been since I was 8 years old, you start manufacturing your own happiness, not only through drugs, obviously, but inside your own head. And I pretend, like I find myself pretending that things like make me excited. I'm like, yay! But
it's like you
inside,
trick yourself.
mm-hmm, Yeah. So it's an effort. Like everything you're doing, it's an effort. It's work. When everybody and the sad part is like you remember, right? You're like, oh, I remember how this used to feel. How excited I used to be when I used to create something new, or come up with something that I loved, or my passions. I remember, like, it's a very distinctive feeling that it gives you, and then it's just not there, and you're like, ugh. So then you have to push yourself because you're almost all a debt to that person that actually believed it or that enjoyed it before to do it when you really don't anymore, and you're weird because you don't. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it's sad. It's I never thought of it like that.
Yeah, people think that depression is like a sadness. It's really not. It's an emptiness.
Hmm.
There's no
Like
good
you're
or bad.
numb.
Yeah, it's a numbness. It's a lack of the joy. It's not, which brings you sadness. And yeah, there are moments of sadness, but a depressed person doesn't. Which is the craziest thing, because you would think, oh, a person that kills themselves is because there's so much pain. But I can guarantee you that people that have even thought about taking their lives have done it out of a lack of feeling. They wish they could cry. They wish they could feel pain or something. You know, I haven't gotten to that point where I haven't felt anything, but there's always a layer, like a layer that I'm working against underneath. And like sometimes, like now, because I'm on mushrooms, I can see it very clearly. It's like this substrate of depression that lurks all the time. And I'm making myself like, so that's why I'm so exhausted when the night comes, when the day, because I've been acting all day basically. And people at work will be like, "You're the happiest guy," and that's usually what people say about like depressed people, right? Like even Robin Williams and all those actors that end up
Mm-hmm.
killing themselves, they were the happiest, they were the funny because they were working, they were acting, because they didn't want to see the darkness that was inside. And I don't think they were putting a play on for anybody. It was for themselves. It was because they wanted to feel a part of what everybody else was. They didn't want to feel like they were the different one. Maybe. Who knows what goes on in the mind?
Who
But
knows?
that's a perfect segue into this article that was published originally on Life Science. Magic mushroom compound creates a hyper-connected brain to treat depression. And then we've talked about this, right? Like when we look at mycelium, how many times have I said, look at it? It's like the neurons connect. Like if you take a picture of a brain and the neurons connecting with one another, and you take
Don't you have the little plates?
yeah,
They look so cute.
yeah, yeah, and the mycelium looks like neurons connecting with one another inside the brain. Well, now psychedelic help people with depression break out of rigid negative patterns of thinking. Psilocybin, the hallucinogenic compound found in magic mushrooms, could treat depression by creating a hyper-connected brain. By boosting connectivity between different areas of the brain, the psychedelic might help people with depression break out of rigid negative patterns of thinking, and new studies suggest. Recent clinical trials have suggested that psilocybin might be an effective treatment for depression when carefully administered under the supervision of mental health professionals. You, for example, administer the psilocybin onto me as a professional. Thank you very much. In the new study published Monday, April 11th in the journal Nature, researchers probed exactly how the psychedelic works to improve people's depressive symptoms. To do so, the team collected brain scans from about 60 patients who had participated in clinical trials for psilocybin therapy. These brain scans revealed distinct changes in the patient's brain wiring that emerged after they took the drug. We see connectivity between various brain systems increasing dramatically. First author Richard Dawes, who was a doctoral student, blah, 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 blah. Healthy individuals with high levels of well being and cognitive function tend to have highly connected brains, studies suggest. But in people with depression, we sort of see the opposite of that. A brain characterized by segregation, say thus. Now a post diabetes, whatever. The study supports the idea that psilocybin relieves depressive symptoms, at least in part by boosting connectivity between different brain networks. And the study included 59 people, 16 of whom participated in one clinical trial. And the first trial included people. This is the part that really amazes me. The first trial included people with treatment-resistant depression, meaning the participants had tried various antidepressants in the past without experiencing improvement. In the trial, these patients initially received a 10 milligram dose of psilocybin, and then 7 days later, they received an additional 25 milligram dose. The participants were carefully monitored during each treatment session and spoke with psychotherapists afterward to reflect on their experiences. The fMRI scans showed that the patient's brain networks became less siloed and more integrated with one another following the treatment, as evidenced by the dynamic flow of blood between them. These changes correlated with long-term improvements in the patient's depressive symptoms.
That's crazy.
And it's been there all along.
It's like I really like that documentary.
Yeah, Fantastic Fungi.
Yeah, they have been there all the time, and we just haven't even grasped the surface. Like,
There's something to say about the connectivity of everything, and that's one of the things that people talk about all the time when they're like on heavy mushroom trips. This what I took is just basically a microdose. Like I feel it slightly, colors shift, and when I'm reading, certain colors kind of like go in and out, but it's just very slight. Um, However, I feel my mind like hyper connected, kind of like the article says. Maybe not to the extent that they're talking about, but not normal as my everyday dumb self. Um, but yeah, it's one of the things that I distinctly remember when it comes to connectivity with mushrooms that everybody experiences is they feel like they're one with the universe, or that they're part of this like bigger thing, um, and that's why it makes them like love everything, because it's almost like a Christian, right? It's a Christian pattern of thinking, like love your neighbor as you love yourself, might have come from a mushroom trip. And I know that for some Christians that's kind of like difficult to accept, but we know that they were tripping back then, and they were experimenting with a whole bunch of different psychedelics that we may not even know yet. And that kind of introspection comes from mushroom trips. And the first time like I went on like a heavy mushroom journey, I remember that I went to the park, and away in the distance they're building a new bridge, and I saw all the cranes that are there in the water, and like all this metal, like human made mechanical equipment. And it wasn't like a thought, like like thoughts come to you, but you feel like you have some sort of agency of them. Like, I'm thinking this because I'm thinking it, right? Even though who knows where thought come, can you
they
tell?
just pop. Like,
Right, but they
you might
feel like they have
develop
some
them,
agency,
but
right? But this thought came like almost as if somebody was whispering it in my ear. They're everywhere. And now it was obviously I was thinking about the human made stuff that's everywhere in nature. And I remember that I was trying to just create a vision path where it will all be nature. And something kept getting in the way, whether it was the sidewalk, the cement, all the signs or so. It was like I cannot be just in
You can
100%
escape.
nature, you know. And that desire to connect at a much deeper level with nature, it's something that it's a wave. It's not even close to be magical, but it's very real. I don't know if the mushroom or the psilocybin or, and I mean we saw it in Fantastic Fungi how even trees like use fungi to talk to one
Yeah.
another. They're bridges between mother trees and offspring, and they can even like send nutrients. Don't laugh. They gave me no nutrients.
I was like, don't say it. Don't say it.
So it has always been, even in nature, they are a bridge between plants. And it's something so real that you feel when you take them, this connection to nature. And I don't know if that means that they're conscious or that there's a certain type of consciousness. Although I do have to say that I was reading an article and I couldn't print it out in time, um, about researchers have finished the first test that may show that consciousness comes from a quantum level,
Okay.
which is something that could change the way we see consciousness completely. Um, and Roger Penrose, who is a physicist that actually won the Nobel Prize, I believe, a couple of years ago, he was one of the ones that came up with the idea that the brain has this, and I'm going to botch this up, I apologize, but the brain has these things called microtubules, and he believes that the consciousness of the self-awareness starts there in those microtubules, and it's from a quantum. It has it's a quantum pattern, or it's a quantum behavior. I don't know the word, but that was all theoretical. And I read the title of an article this morning, and it said that they had done the first test that actually showed signs that consciousness may be most likely a quantum event, which actually is a very good thing for the thought of free will. Because when things are not quantum, when things are not randomized, they follow a certain pattern, right? So the people that don't believe in free will believe in causality, meaning one thing affects the other, one thing affects the other. So when this thing gets started, you can't change the outcome of 10 things, and that can go back, it goes back all the way to the beginning of the universe, right? So the causality of the universe beginning started a whole bunch of patterns that you can, it's almost like dominoes falling, right? And with consciousness, they believe it to be the same. So the causal link from what happened before, what happened in your life, to what your next move is going to be has nothing to do with your agency. However, in the quantum world, things don't work that way. Things are randomized. Um, so we will have to explore that in another episode once I read it, because I see your face and you're like, I don't know what the heck you're talking about. But it's really exciting stuff. Am I talking too much?
A little.
A little
But,
bit?
I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. What are you gonna read next?
So the next article that I have really um, affected me. Probably in a way that I didn't think was going to affect me, because I started to feel depressed and anxious, like severely, when I was a little kid. So I have like this, I don't know, I don't like to see kids suffering or kids being affected. It affects me almost like in a personal way. Um, and this is where this next two poems come from, and then we'll take a look at the article. This one's called Children of Lies. They come powerless into an unknown and dangerous world. They're assigned protectors of dubious and strange thirsts. They are led and held and structured by random minds of little wisdom and selfish hearts. They are then severely punished for not knowing how to walk the path. How our children suffer at the hands of ignorance and lies. What do I have you as a co-host for if you're not gonna give me your thoughts, lady?
I mean, that one is pretty self-explanatory. But yeah, let's talk about it. It doesn't matter if they do a great job or if they don't. Like, your parents have 100%, like, what?
Continue. I'm just paying attention.
They have 100% action on what you're gonna do next. The way they shape you. And the thing is that their parents didn't know what they were doing either. So
We were just talking about causality, right?
exactly. So everybody's doing their best, and well, not everybody, but
I
let's
think
just
most
say
people
of the
have
people.
good intentions.
Exactly.
They're just
So-
broken in their own way as
Yeah.
well.
and the circumstances, and so they try to do their best, but at the end of the day, you're gonna end up messed up in some way. And then you compare the way you were raised with other people, and you notice it. Like, they're always like, even if you came out pretty much okay, there are things that you're like, oh, that really messed me up.
Yep.
So
And sometimes you go, I haven't done it personally because it's, my parents and I have a weird relationship, but I have talked to people that have gone back and confronted their parents, their mom, for example. Mom, do you remember when you did this and you said this to me? And they have no recollection. And to them, it's like what shaped them as human beings from that time on, what gave them PTSD, what made their relationships suffer, and the parents weren't even aware,
yeah.
or they put it somewhere in their subconscious that they don't even. And I've also realized that a lot of the things that we do that we don't want to confront because we know they're wrong or they're sad or they're angry, whatever, we might do a behavior and then it goes almost like in the back pocket to where we don't remember we did it or why we did it. It was just there.
It's just your own brain trying to erase it the best possible. And it's just blurry.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you got to add society. You have to add the world. You have to add the impulses and the pressures of people around you. And when you're a little kid, you're feeling pressure from everywhere, not only from your parents, but then you go to school and they're trying to teach you something, and then the kids are either bullying you or you want to be friends with them, and you feel this pressure to be part of some kind of group, and you don't even know. You just want to be accepted by somebody. Like, I remember, I'm an only child, so I remember when I was a little kid, like, it was really hard for me to see other kids being friends from a distance, and again, something must be wrong with me because I can't be friendly with other kids. And then it goes down to the religion that we were a part of, and the way we were raised, which wasn't the best, but we're not gonna get into that right now. But all those pressures add into how kids see themselves and their own psyche and their own brain, and that can lead to depression, anxiety. A lot of girls start cutting themselves, and this is where this next poem comes in, and then I'm going to read the article. But before that, don't forget that at the end of the show we are going to be giving away $100 Amazon gift card as well as your very own mushroom grow kit. And before that, I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do if you become the very lucky winner of that prize. And remember that once you sign up, you are signed up for life. That means that if you don't win this week, you can win in the next contest that we are going to continue giving away very exciting prizes. So you are locked in for the life of this show to win the prize that we're going to be announcing before the podcast. So all it takes is you go to the link that we have below, leave your email address, and that's it. Just listen in, enjoy the show, have a good time. Take a little bit of mushrooms like I have. Obviously, I have a mental health professional by my side that is evaluating my situation and making sure that I am not doing things that I shouldn't be doing. So I appreciate your help and support today, young lady.
Always.
And talking about modern self-worth and what these kids are going to, and then we're going to go into the article. Look at me. What do you see? Do you like my hair, or do you like my skin? Look into my eyes, but please not too deep, as they squint with lust, but they want to scream. Look at my lips, supple and filled, just like the girls I watch on my feed. Should I dance for you in my new yoga pants? Should my breasts leap out of the screen in your hands? Or should I pretend that I'm only 12, looking innocent, drooling on myself? Tell me what you want. Tell me everything. I'll do it for you and won't say a thing. I have nothing else that makes it worth to live. I need you to tap 2 times on your screen. Help me or I will cry myself to sleep one last time. I promise. Tap, tap, tap for me. And I'll pretend these tears do not fall from me. And I want to get your input on that one because obviously it's written from the point of view of a young woman, which I have never been.
Well,
But I can understand the pressures that come with your exterior and the pressures that are put on you to be or for your worth to be physical. When does that start anyway?
pretty much when you're born. I mean, when you're a girl, it's the amount of like things that your mom, like your parents try to get to like make you look cute. It's like in the whole society cuz it's all the worth that you have, it's on your physical. And I get it, like it's a biological thing. It's not it's not from like this times, it's not from like the last couple of years. It's always been that way. um the male has always been the strong, the one that like needs to get like things done, and like women will like stay,
The
take
paternal
care.
structure.
Yeah. And women will stay and like take care of the kids and try to like attract a male. So it is a biological thing that has like changed with time, with what you just like wrote and read. And I don't
It's
think it will
instilled.
ever.
It's instilled in the culture itself and the ways of thinking of people, even without them realizing it.
And you
Right?
see it everywhere, so you accept it, and that's just how you are. Like,
So
since
when
you're.
when was the first time you looked in the mirror and you were like, I need to do something about this? Not saying that you weren't always a beautiful person, but I'm saying psychologically when you were looking at the other girls and
I
the
think.
bodies were obviously bodies change and grow at different speeds. So you're looking at maybe girlfriends, whatever, that are
Yeah, and you're
growing
always
quicker
like
than you.
comparing to yourself to like the other girls. Like, why don't I have like bigger boobs like my friend, or why isn't my hair as long? Like,
Hmm.
why aren't like boys like looking at me? It's it's in that time of like puberty when you start like realizing that, oh, I need to like make some changes, because it's just that like you want to feel worth it, so you kind of change what you think about yourself to kind of like adapt it to the definition of worth that other
Mm.
people have on you. So yeah, it is.
And you were always a very, I mean, as long as I know you've always been a very independent person. So even it affected you not as much as it probably affects other girls.
I don't know. I don't think so. It's. I think I just kind of like accepted it, but I think it affects all of us like pretty bad.
Yeah, but when you see what girls are doing today on social media and how they base, like the poem says, their self worth on how many likes they're getting
Mm.
or how many comments, or I can only imagine how inundated an attractive girl must get with dick pics
Oh my god.
after like a sexy TikTok or something. Like you could probably count the dicks.
Should I try it?
I I would advise against it unless you want to collect dicks. So anyway, now on top of that, right now on top of that, in the past 2 years, we've had this COVID situation, and this is what's happening. All children 8 and older should be screened for anxiety, U.S. Task Force says. A panel of experts says the latest research supports early intervention for younger kids. The worsening state of mental health among children has prompted an influential group of experts to recommend for the first time screening all children ages 8 to 18 for anxiety, one of the most common mental health disorders of childhood. A draft of the new guidelines, which is open to public comment, will most likely be finalized later this year. It was issued on Tuesday by the U.S. Preventive Services Task Force, a panel of volunteer experts appointed by a federal government agency to make recommendations to healthcare providers about clinical preventive care. So, what's been happening was this entire 2.5 years of anxiety and bewilderment and just madness over what's been going on. Imagine how hard that has been to digest for us as adults. But imagine a 4-year-old kid that remembers no more than 2 years of his own life already wearing a mask, right? Because before that, they weren't self aware yet. So they are growing with the fear. All they know their entire life is the fear of you have to wear your mask or you're going to die or grandma's going to die. You have to wear your mask or you can't go over there. Oh my God, they took Jimmy out because he got infected. And that anxiety is so deep within them and who they are that I don't think I don't think we understand how bad this is going to be when these kids grow up. And by 14, 15, even earlier, they're going to be showing signs of PTSD. They're going to become heavy drug users. This is going to give our society a very long-term residual effect that we're not even closely aware of what it's going to end looking like. Screening more children for anxiety is really important, says Stephen P.H. Whiteside, a child psychologist. Most kids in need of mental health don't get it. And I read and I speak for myself when I said that no. For some reason, it's very difficult to convince an adult that you're sad when you're a kid. It's very difficult to, as an 8-year-old, go, I don't feel anything. And your parents go, why? You have everything. You're a kid.
Yeah.
Be happy. Play. What do you have to be sad about? And I can guarantee you, they go into their mental bank and go, they don't have to worry about bills or death or, parents. When in reality, I remember when I closed my eyes at night to go to sleep, I had to open them every 30 minutes because I was anxious that I would open them and just be blind. That was one of the very first like
Wow.
traumas that I had. So like all throughout the night I'd be like opening my eyes every 30 45 minutes because I was afraid of closing my eyes, which was it's a PTSD symptom. When my parents would go, if my mom and my dad would be like, "Oh, we're gonna go somewhere. We'll be back at whatever," I could not, like, every instant of them being gone was, "Oh, they're dead. They're not coming back." Because again, my grandfather had done that and he hadn't come back. And even though at that time I didn't know what had happened, I had to feel that the same thing was gonna happen to my parents. So my dad, because of what he did and the religion that I grew up in, and his work, he was always out of the house. Like, I would go to school, I would kiss my dad goodbye, he was still sleeping. My dad would wake up like at 10, then go do his little jobs, go meet with matters of the church, and then all throughout the day, like, my dad would be in and out of the house, in and out of the house. When I was in the house, my dad thinks, like, all to today, he'll tell me, "Oh, he loved going everywhere with me." I didn't, but that was how I was sure that he was okay. That's how I was didn't have that internal anxiety of my dad might never be coming back because I was with him and I enjoyed being with him. Um, so it's really difficult for a child. So what I can say to parents that may have kids of young age, especially nowadays where um, we're seeing kids that get really anxious if somebody's not wearing a mask, if their parents are not wearing masks or whatever, because that's all they know. I mean, they're relating wearing masks or not wearing masks, whatever it may be, with death. Um, really listen to what they have to say because I think kids have a much deeper understanding of what's going on and feel a lot more than what we're made to believe, the happy-go-lucky. And again, it goes back to what we were talking about, that the things that we don't like, the things that went wrong, that's why some people that I personally know have been abused and they don't remember the abuse. They don't remember the trauma because it went in the back pocket. It was a survival mechanism for them not having to deal with that. So a lot of parents don't remember what they felt like negatively when they were kids. They only remember the good times they had. They only remember that they were playing. That's the memories. Oh, I was playing with Billy and Jessica and whatever. And they might not very clearly remember how they felt about certain things that gave them fear or that gave them anxiety or that made them depressed because it got put in it got hidden. Really listen to what your kids have to say because I think they'll surprise you, especially nowadays with the internet and they have so much access to the entire world and everything that's going on in a world that's just it sells fear. We're selling fear. Fear is the number one profit maker in the entire world, and your kids are consuming that. They are consuming fear every single day. Why is early detection important? The U.S. Task Force recommended screening for anxiety regardless of whether a clinician has been looked into any signs or symptoms. It's critical to be able to intervene before a life is disrupted, said whoever, a member of the task force, who is also a professor in the School of Nursing at George Mason University. Childhood anxiety disorders have been linked to an increased risk for later depression, anxiety, behavior problems, and substance abuse, according to a report from the Child Mind Institute, a nonprofit that provides therapy and other services to children and families with mental health and learning disorders. And don't think that because you don't see it as a traumatic event that your child feels the same, because sometimes we also undermine what a traumatic event is for a child because we don't see it like that, right? Like some parents like to scare their kids or come out of the closet or something in Halloween and like freak their kids out. Like, you remember on TikTok a few months back they were doing the babies with the horse that that the dads would, and they would turn into the horse. It was a, and the kids would freak out.
Like they were showing the baby to a horse. What?
No, 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 no. It was a what do you call it? Like when you do and the face, your face
Oh, like the
changes.
filter.
It was a filter, yeah. But the filter would change the dad or the mom into like a horse.
And the
So
kids were freaking out.
yeah, and the parents thought it was funny. Like, oh look, and it's like you don't understand. To your baby, you're turning into a monster. Who knows how many? Because it got popular. Like I saw it like at least 10 times. People were just doing it just to be funny because they think, oh, this is a 10-month-old baby. They won't remember. Who knows how many nightmares that baby had of their mom and dad turning into a freaking beast, into a colorful rainbow beast that was singing.
Oh my god, I remember.
Oh, see, now you remember.
Good job. All I needed was the sound. Oh my. But the thing that concerns me is as soon as these kids are put through like psychiatrist like care, that's the other side of the coin. Like
Yep.
unfortunately for mental health, everything is you get a little bit of therapy, which should be the main percentage, but at the end of the day, it's just all pills,
Yeah.
and they put all these little kids on all this bunch of like medications, and you don't know, like even for adults, it's difficult because something for depression, and then it says it may cause depression, and you're like, you read these labels, and you're like, what? They don't even know
Yeah.
like for sure how it works. It's,
Yeah, I've been through the psychiatric system, and I don't recommend it for my worst enemy. So again, I put the responsibility on the parents. I think the parents are the number one line of defense. And my God, are there so many irresponsible parents out there? It
that's the
breaks
thing, it's
my
just,
heart.
it's difficult. It's
And
difficult
again,
to
some
be a parent and make the right decision.
yeah, some parents don't even, it's not like they don't want to be responsible. They have two jobs. They got to provide for the family, the divorce, something's going on. They lost their job. The kids have to be watched by somebody else. Who knows what's going on at school? I mean, it's a difficult situation, and I'm not trying to assign blame to anybody. I'm just trying to open the eyes of maybe a parent that just needs to be paying a little more attention to what their kids are saying. Because sometimes, like, especially with kids that like to joke around a lot and are always like, devious, when they come to you and be like, hey, something happened, or I'm not feeling okay with this, or Jamie's trying to get out of going to school again, or, he's just being devious again, or whatever. And we have to learn as parents to really understand and filter what our kids are saying to us and take them seriously. Because it could, again, the causality, it could link that event or those events or those feelings to something a lot that will affect them for the rest of their lives. I don't think I'm high enough for this one. Time might not exist according to physicists and philosophers, but that's okay.
What? Time might not exist?
Not getting into it, but it was a good segue for this poem that I really like called My Future. And I wrote it because at the time I was looking at everything happening in the news, and I was thinking about how self-centered we all are, because again, like we do see that things kind of revolve around this centerpiece of a being that's the self. But when you look at it from a different angle, it just, that whole thing dissipates, and you're so irrelevant to the matters of everything else that happens in the simulation or this thing we call life or whatever else it may be. And I was trying to I was trying to solidify in my mind how insignificant that really is. So this poem came about called My Future. In 200 years, a new generation will give birth to a new style of music, and I will be dead. They will be concerned with things of their nature, the love and the pain, and I will be dead. They will go to war and make new things. They will play new games and cheer for new teams. They will fight and fuck and work hard and worry about their future and hate their shitty jobs. They will talk about co-workers behind their backs. They will cheat on their taxes and get really high on some new drug that will kill a few thousand. I will not worry, as that universe will not belong to me, and the worms will long be done, feasting on me, and the memory of who I was will no longer exist except perhaps in a random picture or family video. I will be walking in the background or sitting at a table smiling, and they will, look at how different things were back then. I wonder how it would have been to live a simpler life. And I'll be sitting there, a ghost on a chair, thinking of my day, wondering about tomorrow, worried about a loved one, trying to be my best. And nothing will matter any longer. My life was improbable and unimportant. Just a tiny number that is no longer there. Just a simple man that the world couldn't tame.
I love that one.
Why?
It's it's life. You try to build it the best way as possible. You think you're gonna do great things, and maybe you do, but at the end of the day, you're nothing. Like if you make something great, like important enough to like end up in, I don't know, history books or a documentary in a couple of generations after, it it's not even up to you and to what really happened. It's up to these people that are now discovering, or these people that want to record history. So not even what you do now, it's truly yours to.
That's a cynicism of life, isn't it? Because for you to feel good about yourself, and it's always like you're important. Give yourself value. Every day you have a purpose.
Mhm.
But then at the same time, you have the contrast of realizing that there is no value. I mean, that's one of the things that I struggle with the most. That it's like, yeah, a lot of things that we do have value and will transcend, hopefully, will transcend even our own time and our own existence. When we are creators, that's what I hope, creators want to achieve. It's not only a release of thought and expression, but it's also a connection to a time where you're no longer gonna be there, but you're still there, right? You're still
Leaving your
alive
little mark.
in the minds of the people that are sharing or experiencing your art, whatever that may be. However, you're still gonna be dead, right? So one of the things that depression really makes sure that is that no matter what you do today to improve yourself, you're still gonna be dead at some point and forgotten, and it's not gonna matter, right? The doom's still coming. Good job. Good job. You made it through the day. Awesome. The doom is still a little closer. And I think that that's what we all try to deal with, right? In our own very personal, difficult ways. At the end of the day, we are just trying to deal with the fact that the doom is not going away, right? And some of us dealing with spirituality, religion, substance abuse, all of the above. Some people do it through, materialism, sex, whatever gets their minds filled with enough stuff to where they don't remember, or at least they're not presently and consciously aware that the doom is still coming. And that's why it's important to remember the good days, which segues us into our next segment, NFT of the week. You like my voice?
No. You try your best.
All right, I might superimpose that with a professional.
All right.
NFT of the week.
It came out even worse this time. Jeez. All right. Should I present it now?
So, I actually thought that I had. Yeah, here
You
we
know what
go.
will be interesting? That you actually explain what an NFT is. Like, I can't believe I still don't get it. Like, I know the basics, and you have explained it, and then I read an article, and I watch YouTube videos.
Okay, so
So, just for people like me that are still
okay,
like,
so this is the easiest way that I can explain it. What does a dollar have that makes it unique?
well, that's a little,
Other than that, before they
Yeah.
had the magnetic strips and all that stuff.
the value. Yeah.
But how do you know that dollar is unique?
Is it the paper and the,
But there's something else
there's a
that
serial number.
the serial
it's
number.
unique
There's a
to that one
unique
bill.
serial number to that one bill. You can copy that dollar bill 100 times, right? You can make pictures, whatever. But the serial number that is unique to that very dollar, with all the other elements that make it, the original one is what make it valuable. The serial number in the blockchain is the NFT.
All right. Thank you
Right.
very much.
So you assign that serial number to something that you think has value. But the value really relies on that very unique serial number. So people are like, well, I can take picture. I can take 100. Yeah, you can.
But the blockchain, that serial number, it's unique, and the person that owns it is the one that has the actual
And that's what
real
it stands for,
thing.
non-fungible token, which means that there's nothing of relevant or equal value to it, right? You assign the value that you think, or that society thinks it should have, and that's what makes them unique. This is as simple as that. So whether it's gonna catch up or not, we're gonna do our part. We're gonna do our best. We are going to take advantage of the movement, and you being a great artist and me being an amazing poet came together. We formed a union, and in every episode we are going to launch the NFT of the week. You can start collecting them, you can start sharing them, you can put them in your wallet and just say, hey man, I helped pay Jay's bills. Anyway, let me read the poem first.
Okay.
It's called Handful of Flames. And it ties very well to what we're talking about, right? Because when we look back at our memories and the reasons that we do things, gosh, if we had to remember every single day that we went through in a year, it would be horrific. You imagine all those numb hours that you spent working on so our brain just, it's like a hard drive that deletes the unnecessary repetitive stuff. As a matter of fact, that's why people feel like the older they grow, the faster time flows. Right? You're like, man, when I was a little kid, it was like summer took forever. Well, the reason for that is because you were experiencing things that you had never experienced before. So your brain took notice of every single moment, of every single time. As you grow older, the stuff becomes repetitive, right? And your brain discards it. And when you discard time, it seems like, oh my God, it's been 6 months since 2020, whatever. And it's like, yeah, bitch, you've been doing the same thing in the office every single day, numbly, like mindlessly. the entire year. So your brain just goes, this is the same shit. Let's just get rid of it. But then there are other moments in between all that web of what we call a society and what we call our everyday. And when you talk to old people, when you talk to the elderly, it seems like they know how to appreciate those moments a lot more than maybe the young ones. Because again, the young ones are experiencing so much so fast that they don't think that it's ever going to become scarce.
Yeah, they don't see the end, but the elderly do.
Yeah. Out of all the days you get to breathe air, the old man said, most are insubstantial, forgettable, and many others hurt like hell. Then there are a few here and there, he smiles a toothless grin, a handful in a lifetime that save you from the flames. So you took that and we collaborated. We
made this baby
we
NFT.
made a baby of our number one NFT. It's beautiful. And for those of you that are listening in and not on YouTube, there will be a link where you can click to not only see the NFT, but also, hey, maybe bid on it, maybe put it in your collection. Maybe it will be valuable someday when, we start becoming bigger than the Joe Rogan podcast. And then you had the very first Jay Chirino, Elizabeth, who didn't want to take my last name, Hernandez.
Do you realize why I didn't? No.
But honestly, I know these things are a bet. If you do decide to invest or, make this NFT your own, do it because you appreciate the art. Don't do it because you think it's going to grow in value or not. Do it because you appreciate the art. And it's going to be, I'm going to make sure that it is priced accordingly to the art itself and not the value that it's going to gain or lose. So if you're listening in, look for the link below. If you're on YouTube, look for the link below as well. It's going to be somewhere down here. I look like a crab doing this, but that's okay. And we definitely hope that you enjoy it. Now, since after this we're going to cut to the winner of the Amazon $100 gift card plus your own mushroom grow kit, so you can be like me the next time. Seeing different colors, your mind expanding, connecting into different ways of keeping out the negative and only the lights and only the positive and only the introspection that comes with whole brain colliding into itself. Let me see if I can do this without actually hurting myself.
I knew that would happen. I see it coming.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a whole mess. It's a whole mess. I'm alive.
I should have done that.
I'm alive. Okay, I'm good. I'm good. I made it. Don't worry, listeners. There will be an episode 2, I hope. This is for those of you that are just listening in. Your very own personal all-in-one mushroom grow bag, which you can win simply by becoming part of the Breaking the Veil neighborhood. What do we call them? What do we call our listeners? The Breaking the Veil team? I don't like that. We're not a team. I don't want a team. Club? We'll have to work on it.
Yeah.
Anyway. Your email gets you in the drawing that we are about to do. Now, we recorded the episode about a week before it's launching, so this is going to cut to a newer video of us doing the drawing. That way you still have time before May 1st to be able to be included and participate in the drawing. And like I said before, once your email is in and you do not subscribe, every time we do a drawing, you will be part of that drawing and you'll be eligible to win that drawing, because we don't want a one-time listener. We don't want to keep you just for our own little perverse machinations. We want to keep you as a loyal listener. We want you to enjoy the show and also have a chance to win. Who knows? Hey, listen, if we do 30 episodes, somebody, I mean, it could be the universe, right? But it mathematically could happen, right? We do 30 episodes and we give away $100 on every episode. That's what, $3,000? Don't look at me like that. It's coming out of your paycheck.
What are we giving away?
Yeah, we haven't talked about this.
I was not informed.
Yeah,
about
no,
this.
we'll talk about this later. Let's just think, right? This is, what do you call it? We're just.
Well, right now, imagine. Uh-huh.
But imagine, right? Suppose, that's the word I was looking. Mm-hmm. We're just supposing. We're just having a little fun. Mathematically speaking, one listener could win all of them. It would be like hitting black on that roulette wheel every single time. And they could go home. No, they're already home with their own mushroom harvest forest, plus $3,000 just for signing up once. We are going broke before we even began, so we definitely need your help with that NFT. Thank you very much. So anyway, if you become the winner, or if you're thinking about growing your own mushrooms and you get a mushroom syringe like this one, where you have your spores, you'll see that you have a self-healing port here in the middle. It's as simple as taking the syringe and plugging it in there. And for those of you that are listening in, there will be a link to the video below somewhere. You would do about 2 numbers, not the whole syringe, just about 2 numbers, maybe 1.5. It depends on who you ask, but that's okay. And then, as you can see here, there's this little filter where it will breathe out of, and you put this in a dark place. If you keep room temperature about 70 to 75 degrees, you'll be fine. And that's it. You just make sure that it stays within that temperature, that stays in a dark place. And then what is going to happen, let me see if I don't kill myself now. Is that you are going to end up with a bag that looks like this. And that is all mycelium. All the white that you see there is all mycelium taking over that substrate and growing into what's going to be your mushrooms. Now, in the next episode, we're going to talk about what happens next. And I'm sure you can look it up on Google or on YouTube. There are plenty of videos that will show you. But it's as simple as that with the grow kit that you are able to win from the Breaking the Veil podcast. That's the one that I use. That's the mushrooms that I'm on right now. It's really effective. It's really simple. And all you really have to do is 2 things. Be patient and be clean. Would you say that that's fair?
Yeah, you gotta be extremely clean when you do that.
One of the things that I forgot, and please.
I think COVID has been a training for this.
Yeah. You want to have isopropyl alcohols. What is it? What's the percentage?
I think we had the 90.
No, the 90 is too much. It's
it was 70%.
75 isopropyl alcohol.
70.
and I put it in a little bottle and I spray my surface. You want to also, I forget about this because you're the one that helps me with this, but preferably you want to turn the AC off about 30 minutes before. That way all the little particles that are in the air will not get into your substrate and contaminate it.
Shake the syringe.
Yeah, if you shake the syringe really well, if you are going to use the syringe more than one time, you can use a lighter and put the lighter to the needle until it becomes red. That way you detoxify it again. Be redundant. Be redundant with your cleaning. That way you don't get contamination the first time around. And then you just wait. And then on the next episode, we're going to show you what becomes of this beautiful snowy white substrate. Did I miss anything? Are we pretty much done here?
I think so.
Did we achieve what we wanted?
I mean, we did our best. Now it's up to you.
I did my best.
You think I didn't do my best?
We're gonna have to talk. I'm gonna have to talk with the HR department about your performance. We'll let the audience decide. All right, so we got the mushroom kit. The winner is gonna be announced right after this. So we're gonna cut away to us in time a week later.
Okay.
Doing the drawing and the lucky winner. I hope you are listening in or watching us on YouTube or whatever other social media ways, universe, webs, any other medium, magical medium that it would have been 1,000 years ago if we said the interwebs, that would have probably drowned us. Or
you're already getting into like a topic for the next podcast.
Yeah, I gotta stop. Again, thank you for listening in. Make sure you check the NFT out. Make sure you sign up for the drawing. If you don't win this time, you can win again. We definitely appreciate you listening and watching. My name is Jay Chirino. Elizabeth, whose last name should not be mentioned. Until next time. Hello friends, the time has now come to reveal this episode's winner of the $100 Amazon gift card plus their very own mushroom grow kit. And my lovely wife here has put all your names into the raffle application, which we are going to spin in 3, 2, 1, and go. And congratulations to Heather Grinstaff for being the winner of this episode. Don't forget, if you have already signed up, you will be eligible for the next cool prizes that we're going to be giving in future episodes. Stay tuned and enjoy. Until next time, Jay Chirino
and Lucy.